we are going to open Duke, the leader, as far as I was concerned when I was growing up, this is the way that I felt, the leader of the G.I. Joes, okay? It's Duke time, and it's from the Classic Collection. So the Classic Retro Cardback, I honestly feel like these are two lines here, and I would argue that they very much are. I believe that there are Retro Classic figures, which are on the Retro cards, and then there's Classified. And I do personally see a huge difference, and if anybody else doesn't, I'm not sure how you don't. Okay? Because, let's just be honest about this real quick. This, right here, is a Classified. They take the original figure and they modernize it. This is not the G.I. Joe that you remember growing up with. It's simply not. And you can see that with a lot of different characters from this line. They appear different, to the point where some people are actually mad about it. Currently, one that I know was getting a lot of interesting anger, which I actually thought was very unwarranted. But people were mad when they released Jinx, and Jinx was sleeveless and had the tattoo. And people, I saw a lot of people online that were like, she's not supposed to be sleeveless, that's supposed to be all red, blah, blah, blah. I understand. But this is Classified. This is what Classified is. It's an updated version, a reimagining of the original line right here, modern day. The Retro sometimes replaces a couple of pieces to get them back to what you remember, and will fix the coloring. And this is really apparent on like because sometimes it's literally just a color thing that's kind of messing people up. It doesn't feel right because the color's not right. Well, if you look at, and we've already had this video, Jungle Recondo. We've already covered him twice on the channel. Jungle Recondo came out in the Classified, and he specifically was for Tiger Force in that line, and I bought him. Then I went back and bought him again because I wanted the G.I. Joe that I had when I grew up, because I remember I said I only had about 20 G.I. Joes. Jungle Recondo was one of those G.I. Joes. And so my mental image of him is not of the new stuff, it's of the original stuff. And that is where this comes in, because this Duke right here, this is what I remember when I was growing up. This is another one that I had in this kind of packaging. Basically, this is what I bought all those years ago, back when they were O-ring figures. And here he is, again, all these years later, with modern articulation, modern engineering, modern sculpt, but almost exactly what I remember growing up with, and that is really cool. I can understand why some people would prefer this and would personally wait every single time a Joe is released just to get their hands on this instead of the other option, Classified. But let's open this guy up. That was a lot of crinkling. I got really glad I muted the mic on that one, because that was a lot. Like, it was a lot. But I got it. It was a lot of crinkling, but I got it, okay? Duke, for about $24, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. That's what these figures are costing right now. Two hands, punching hands, so that he can punch cobras in the face. Wow, you're a real hard ass. Now that I say that one out loud. But yeah. Here he is. This is him, man. And this is what I mean. Like, when you talk about Joes right now, look at this. Could be a real guy. That face sculpt is so perfect, it is unreal. I mean, I have seen $80 figures. I have bought $80 figures that cannot match that level of quality and detail. I have done it from this right here to the veins on his arms to the belt that's actually a floating piece to the badge right here, to the pocket design, which is sculpted, by the way, not just painted on, to the little intricate little details of the sleeves, to the rolled sleeve part right here, to where the shirt does not tuck in perfectly evenly all the way across, to the belt, which feels like a rubbery part. That might be a floating piece, actually. It doesn't float. It's definitely connected, but it feels different than the rest of him. To the pants that all have texture and design, to this right here, where it very much feels tucked in and not perfectly all across the way. I mean, this figure at $25? How? Like, and I'm not kidding. How? Like, this is the same company that is doing Marvel Legends. This is the same company that is doing Star Wars. And it blows my mind what they are getting out of this. I mean, it really, really, truly does blow my mind, because it is very good. And you know what else is really cool about these new G.I. Joe? These new G.I. Joe, unlike the old ones that I grew up with, Duke had a handgun when I was growing up. And he couldn't do that. That seems like such a small little thing, right? It's almost laughable. It's almost like one of those things like you're like, big deal, Bill. So what? So he could put the gun. He put the gun in a holster. Like, guys, when we were growing up, Duke had a knife. This Duke has a knife. And that knife goes right there. He has a boot knife. Okay? And it's there. He has the backpack. I almost wish this was a separate piece. It is not. But really, am I going to complain at this point? Oh, by the way, every G.I. Joe had to have a backpack. Like, it was just like a ridiculous thing of the line. And if you didn't have your backpack, your Joe almost felt like he was missing something. Like, and they would go really out of their way, even for Joes that they had no reason for a backpack. Like, what are you doing? Like, and they would find a stupid reason to put a backpack on them. There was a G.I. Joe. I just love toys so much, so I know weird things, even though I didn't own them. Like, I'm constantly watching toy tubers and stuff like that. But, there was a G.I. Joe that, carried a little house thing on his back. Like, he would, take it off or whatever, and he could put up the walls. So, he was carrying, a little outpost on his back. And you'd look at it and be like, and there was that one G.I. Joe, he almost had, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I wish I had a picture of this. There was a G.I. Joe that carried what looked like a tricycle. It's like a little it's like a little funny, it's like a Power Wheels. Like he carries it on his back. It's a backpack. And he runs into battle or whatever, and then he takes the Power Wheel off his back and puts it down and then rides on it. Whee! I'm sorry, it's so stupid. It's really bad. It's really bad and it's really stupid, but they did that. Everybody had to have a backpack. Well, he has one and he's fantastic for it, okay? This visor actually moves, which I didn't expect that to be a separate piece, but this helmet, I'll bet you, fits right on his head perfectly. It does. And there we go. Am I about to do that? No. I actually don't like this helmet, but it's interesting that it's a choice because the helmet almost felt like part of the design. You get what I'm saying? Like, I understand where that helmet comes from. So it's cool that it's even a thing because you saw this helmet in a lot of promotional material. Now, like I said, I did not watch the show, but I remember seeing that helmet a lot on like pictures and on promotional material all the time. So it's kind of crazy that he has the helmet. He has a pair of binoculars, and they could easily just go around and sit down or whatever if you wanted to. That's fine. And then he has 2 different kinds of guns, which I don't know anything about pew-pews necessarily, but he's got this, and he's got this. I think one is a more realistic gun, and then one is more a cartoon, like the cartoon gun that he carried. At least the way that I'm remembering it anyway. I seem to remember this being the thing in the cartoon where he would hold it and it would shoot the lasers, even though it looked like an actual, like a gun that you would have in the military, but it wouldn't, I'm getting at, it wouldn't work that way necessarily. It would shoot like lasers and whatnot. And that's very much something that I remember. But that's Duke. And definitely mine is going to use this gun. Without a doubt, this is the one that I will be putting him with because it just feels right, is I guess the only thing that I'm going to say here. It feels like this is the one that he should have. Let me move that pointer finger out of the way here real quick. Because I remember I used to use those the bigger guns all the time on the couple Joes that I had until their hands would break anyway, because that was like a thing that happened with all my Joes when I was growing up, is their friggin' hands would break. But there, he's got the gun that I think fits him the most. That's such a perfect face, man. It's so good. I feel like this guy could be a real guy. And I think that's one of the things that absolutely blows me away about it. And like the butterfly joints and everything, like this guy moves well too. I don't understand how they're maintaining the price point that they maintain, but they sure do it. This is an unbelievable toy line. Like, for what you are buying, this is an unbelievable toy line. The price point is insanity. Absolute insanity. But Duke added to the shelf.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.